Hello, investing bros. It is I, T Shroom, going to be taking a look at the Jupiter launch. Okay, the airdrop is happening today. We're going to be getting into that. We're going to be taking a look at some of the FOMC news at the back half of this show. That's going to go till 9:30 Eastern Standard Time. You are tuned in to the Investing Bros, and I'm so glad that you are, because today we've got some interesting news. We're going to get ahead and get started by looking at the weekly chart for Bitcoin. You all know that I love that weekly chart. I cannot get enough of it. Taking a look here, I can clear everything off here and show you one thing that I've been noticing, which is we are moving sideways, right? Crab market. Now, we all know that. It has been very, very anticlimactic, right? Especially during the ETF launch of the spot Bitcoin ETF. We've mainly been sideways with a testing higher and a testing lower. However, what I've noticed is that we are actually pulling sideways from the top line of the Bollinger Band. The last time we did that, we were sideways here for about 5-6 candlesticks, okay, back in May. And then we came down and touched the midline of the Bollinger Band. One thing I'm noticing here is that midline of the Bollinger Band, if we were to go out and touch it today, that would put us at 37,000 for Bitcoin's price, right? If we were to just keep going sideways and wait for it, meaning not lose any ground price-wise, well, we'd be where we are today, 42,005, right? So that's essentially kind of the takeaway I have there for Bitcoin. Down on the 4-hour, we haven't seen a whole lot of action since yesterday's TA. That tends to happen when there's just sideways action. On the 4-hour, we have seen the money flow slow and go ahead and, as Tim likes to say, keel over. So that is, bearish. That's a slowing of momentum, down sloping here on the hyperwave there from ALGO. But that's the 4-hour. Okay, let's go out to the daily real quick here for Bitcoin, and then we're going to get into the Jupiter story. But this is a news show, so we have to cover definitely the news, the price evolution here for Bitcoin on the daily chart. I'm not seeing anything too much that's saying we're going to move higher or lower. We're just continuing to go sideways. I would say that we did get a lower low here and then we're now getting a lower high in. So there could potentially be, the price could be ready to go ahead and make a move lower. But the hope is that now that Bitcoin has gotten, and this is the daily chart, now that Bitcoin has gotten up above the midline of the Bollinger Band, it will be able to at least come down and find support at 41.9 and be able to move higher. That would go ahead and confirm that this is not just a dead cat bounce as we move into February and we see a very bullish February. We shall see. That, of course, is all going to be determined in good time. Now, you might be wondering, T. Shroom, you've got a little remodel there going on behind you. Yes, the NFT gallery started to get a little bit of mold, so I had some teams come in and go ahead and remodel, and I don't know if I like this. Let me know in the chat. Let me know in the comments. Do you like the new remodel of the space here? I can potentially have this remodeled again. I've just been doing so well with trading and crypto that, remodeling is just... It's just like that. It's just a snap of a finger. So let me know what you guys think. But let's go ahead and jump right on into this Jupiter story. The DEX for Solana is releasing a coin, essentially. So let's take a look at that. Jupiter airdrop. What you need to know about the Solana JUP token launch. Now, before I get into the details here, I just want to issue a disclaimer, issue a warning. We don't talk about airdrops here on the Investing Bros very often, and that is because if you are new to crypto, it is very easy to get took by these airdrops, right? Now, there is always going to be, whenever there is an official airdrop that I'm bringing to your attention today, there's always going to be an official path to connecting your wallet, whether it be MetaMask on Solana or whether it be a Solarflare wallet for Solana or another dedicated Solana wallet. There is an official path to connecting your wallet to the actual airdrop, right? But then there's going to be all kinds of different ads and scams and fake outreach to you to say this is the airdrop, right? This is where you need to connect your wallet, and then all of your wallet gets drained and you cry, right? So that is the disclaimer here, but I am going to go ahead and cover this because it is a pretty big development for the Solana ecosystem, and if you have never used an airdrop before, you've never engaged in an airdrop, I would highly recommend you do at least an hour of research on how to properly do it before you do it. What I'm going to cover is just the news of it and a little bit of how you would begin to do it. Let's take a look. So, months in the making, Solana decentralized exchange aggregator Jupiter is set to launch its JUP token airdrop on Wednesday, January the 31st. Nearly 1 million Solana wallets are eligible, and the token launch will likely be the largest of 2024. So we're starting off 2024 early with the biggest airdrop of the year, at least according to decrypt.co here. According to Jupiter, almost 1 million, right? About 955,000 wallets are eligible for the JUP airdrop, which includes early users who interacted with the protocol ahead of November 2nd snapshot. And then we've got a tweet here from Meow. It says, "It's time for Jupe. Jupe launch site is up. You can check out your airdrop allocation, set up your DCA limit, orders ahead of time, and see the slot count." So it's saying today is the launch time at 10 a.m. So just 30 minutes after this show's over, the airdrop will be going live, it looks like. The initial circulating supply is going to be 1.35 billion. And there are some more information there. But if I click that, then it'll take me to Twitter. And I don't necessarily want to do that just yet. So overall, we've got a little more to learn here, so let's get into those details. Half of the overall JUP supply will be used for team and token needs, including a liquidity pool. The Jupiter team will not earn any tokens until January 2025, so this time next year, when a 2-year vesting cycle begins. That's fairly commonplace. Let me know in the chat, is it commonplace for a team to take 50% of the supply? That seems to be pretty high. Half of the overall Jupe supply will be used for the team and token needs. That seems pretty high. Let me know in the chat. As we're seeing, the popularity of fair launches from projects like Caspa, how is this going to be perceived? Could this potentially be bearish in the long run if the team has 50% of the supply? Am I interpreting this incorrectly? Let me know what you think in the chat. I'd love to get your input for those who are more familiar with the Solana ecosystem. According to the Tuesday post from the team, a total of 1.35 billion Jupiter will be circulating as of day one, with 1 billion Jupiter for the airdropped claim, 250 million Jupe for a launch pool, and 50 million Jupe for loans to centralized exchange markets makers. That also is customary, and any immediate liquidity pool needs. This is down from the 1.7 billion Jupe that was originally planned for immediate circulation and previously stated. So we got into the tokenomics here. The real question is, will price go up? Will it go down on the first day of people owning it? That's something that I'm interested in. While I'm not going to attempt to get the airdrop here, it is something that some folks are looking into, right? And some people are going to be very, very rewarded. Some investors are going to get their hands on some Jupe, and they just have a pretty good chance of that price going up into the right quite precipitously, quite aggressively, and they're going to be making some money. However, the price could go down, right? And I think in these moments where these initial offerings come out, or these airdrops, if you will, it's very, very uncertain. And there may be a lot of posting, there may be a lot of information out there saying that this is going to be a bullish event. It could be. It definitely could be. But I would give the chances probably 50-50. And to be honest with you, it may even be a little bit of a stronger chance that the price goes down, just because you are getting this immediate supply shock of 1.3 billion coin. That's a lot of coins, right? So just take that for what it is. I'm not saying that this analysis is accurate. I'm just saying that there's going to be volatility on the first day. Price could go up. Price could go down. I would be, if I was going to be looking into this one, which I have thought about. I do own Pith. I do own a decent amount of Solana, and I have a couple other gaming coins. I think I have Octo, right? So it's not like I'm completely off the Solana blockchain, right? But I'm taking a look at this and I'm saying, let's go ahead and pump the brakes, right? I want to see probably like a week into trading, a week into these tokens being issued and airdropped. I want to see kind of how that goes, because sometimes those airdrops aren't as smooth, and that can have an effect on price. So far, what I've seen with the Jupiter DEX has been impressive, right? So I would be pretty pretty surprised if they've dropped the ball, like some of the airdrops of last year. I can't remember the name. I think I want to say it was Sui. Sui or Say comes to mind, that there were some, or no, it was Arbitrum. That's right. They kind of fumbled the ball there with their airdrop. I think people thought they were going to be getting a lot more, and they didn't. So I'm expecting a little bit of a different outcome here for JUP. I do think it's going to ultimately be quite bullish, the price per token over time, but I don't know overall how the airdrop is going to go, because this is a PR moment. Things could go bad. Things, expectations might not be met. But as of 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, those airdrops look like they're going to go out, or at least that process is going to be initiated, and folks are going to be able to claim the tokens that they feel entitled to. So that's pretty exciting. There's more details that are public about how many tokens you can expect to get. There's a tool, an official tool that Solana or that Jupiter has released so that you can see how much your wallet is entitled to getting, which is pretty cool, right? And again, that's why I'm saying that this looks like it'll be more good chance of being very successful, right? The Jupiter DEX just in general looks clean. It feels clean. I have swapped on it. It looks good. However, there's always a chance, right, for something to go wrong. So just be careful. Never invest more than you can afford to lose. And if you have never done airdrops before, I'm not saying not to try to do this, but what I'm saying is don't get swept up in the FOMO. Don't do something just because you feel like you're going to miss out. There's going to be plenty of opportunities in crypto for you to make money, right? And right now, there's a lot of opportunities for you to lose money, and they're called scams that are trying to make you think that they're this JUP airdrop, and they're not. So just be careful, guys. If you know what you're doing with airdrops, I applaud you today. You're going to make some money, and that's going to be a lot of fun. It is a good day for crypto, right? Solana is getting a big airdrop here, a big launch of their DEX coin, so that is pretty exciting. All right, let's move on, though. Before I do, I want to see if anybody's freaking out in the chat, being very, very excited about their Solana DEX coin airdrop here. Eric Wallen said, "Hey-o, fellas, where do we recommend to buy JUP?" I mean, it's not financial advice, right? Probably JUP, the JUP swap, right? I've got it pulled up here. You can see what it looks like. This is the JUP swap, and it looks pretty good. My wallet is not connected here on my studio computer, so I have no worries about that. But ultimately, that's probably where most folks are going to be buying it. And for those of you who don't know, the JUP DEX has been up for a long time. The Jupiter DEX has been up for, I want to say, maybe even a full year, right? But it's going pretty well. Dylan Martinez says, "I bought JUP in 2022. Foes that count." I don't know what that means. Let's see. I'll probably buy JUP after the crash. There you go. Eric Wallen kind of saying what I'm saying here a little bit more clearly is sometimes with these initial airdrops, there can be a big sell-off because there's a lot of hype. But ultimately, that initial supply number seems pretty high. Do we know the price that JUP will start? I do not. I do not know that. No. I'd sell my airdrop as quick as possible, said Redman. There you go. All right. So I'm seeing an overall kind of a bearish tilt here from the bros, at least on this initial kind of event for Jupiter. My anticipation, though, is it will turn out to be a pretty prominent project for Solana, the Solana ecosystem. Guys, if you're not, maybe you don't even know what a DEX is. So Ethereum has a DEX called Uniswap, right, which is a separate entity from Ethereum. They're not connected. They're not like the same people working on it. They're two different organizations, if you will, right? But it's the primary place that you can go swap ERC20 tokens that are on Ethereum, and then there's other places too, right? Solana has Jupiter, right? So Cardano has kind of Dex Hunter, right? If you're familiar with that ecosystem, Avalanche has Trader Joe, right? Let's see, Binance Coin has Pancake Swap and many others as well. So there's all kinds of DEXs, right? I'm just trying, again, for the noobs, just trying to help illustrate kind of a little bit of positioning, a little bit of orientation for the crypto ecosystem in general, and what these words mean and how they can attempt to try to understand it. It's taken me a while to understand it. Sometimes I just throw these terms around like they're your mother's great cooking, right? So, all right, let's take a look here. Let's see if anybody was saying anything else about JUP. Crypto AI chiming in here. Never use your main wallet for airdrop. Create additional wallets for airdrops. Okay, that sounds like a pretty good input. It sounds like pretty good input. Again, guys, be careful because there's lots of scams. Solana has airdrop checker. You add your wallet and it tells you what you're qualified for. Absolutely. So we talked about that a little bit. That being confirmed there by Crypto AI. Someone in the chat. A very familiar name. Thank you for tuning in, everybody. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and move on because we've got a bullish clip. We've got a very, very bullish clip from a billionaire, Tim Draper. So let's go ahead and listen to that right now.
I miscalculated on how aggressive how scared the U.S. government was running. And now they realize that Bitcoin's actually better for everyone. It keeps perfect records. It, the people who they all thought were criminals using Bitcoin, turns out they were all caught. So using dollars is probably better for a criminal. And I think that there's going to be a moment where there's a run on the banks the way after the Civil War there was a run on Confederate money, and there was a run on the Greek drachma and a run on the French franc when they became a part of the euro. So I actually think that there will be a moment in time when I can buy my food, clothing, and shelter all in Bitcoin, and people won't want dollars anymore.
Yeah. So a little bit bullish there is Tim Draper, of course. That video will make its way around TradFi, and there will be some orange pilling going on today. That was from Bloomberg Crypto. Of course, they're constantly, talking about crypto there on Bloomberg Crypto. So it's not a huge surprise that every now and then they get a pretty big bullish gem of a soundbite, and we're played it there for you. You may not know who Tim Draper is. That's okay. That's is what it is. But he's very influential in the Wall Street and TradFi world. And for those words to come out, talking about a bank run, whenever you hear bank run, you think probably gold, right? And, he's making the case that, well, there's actually this other digital gold that operates outside of the financial system that is traditional, the TradFi system, right, if you will. And it's called Bitcoin. And folks if there is a bank run, the folks are going to go ahead and probably at least allocate a little bit, if not all, of their net worth into Bitcoin, or as much as they can. Of course, in order for that to happen, there would need to be a bank run, and that, of course, is never guaranteed. Bank runs, by definition, are pretty unpredictable. So, but it is somewhat interesting. Going to blow through this next headline because I don't know who is going to really care about this, but somebody might. Former UK finance minister joins Coinbase crypto exchange as an advisor. So Coinbase continuing to kind of stack the deck there in their favor. This is this former finance minister, right? So somebody, the equivalent of the U.S. Treasury over in the UK, like the Janet Yellen, basically joining Coinbase, right? Except they're from the UK. So that is George Osborne. For all the UK folk, probably recognize that name. Again, kind of like the Janet Yellen of the UK. Let's move on. Let's take a look here at markets are too optimistic about the Fed rate cuts, says JP Morgan. Let's dive in and see what exactly they said. They said the market may be too optimistic as we see limited evidence of disinflation in certain areas that are a focus for the Fed. Strategist said, explaining a potential for a decline in risk assets. It's possible. It is possible. And here at 9:30, I will be ending the stream, but that is when, right, the markets, the U.S. stock markets, will be going ahead and reacting to, start trading on, anticipating the big decision for today. Let's dive into that decision, that FOMC rate decision, and take a look. Will they pause? Will they hike? Will they cut? There's always so much debate, and no one knows. Let's see. A change to this one clause could be the most important part of the Fed meeting, and that is this clause here. I've highlighted in green, additional policy firming. Let's get a context here. In its post-meeting statement, the central bank is expected to give an important hint about the interest rate moves to come by removing a clause from previous statements that reads, in determining the extent of any additional policy firming that may be appropriate to return inflation to 2% over time, following an outline of conditions it assesses, right? So that is kind of the important term there. And for the past year plus, the wording has underlined the Fed's willingness to keep raising rates, keeping those rate hikes on the table until it reaches its inflation goal. Remove that clause, and it opens the door to potential rate cuts ahead. Keep it, and policymakers will be sending a signal that they're not sure what's to come. So it's very seldom that you get a binary on Wall Street or in asset markets, right? But CNBC, at least this morning, is trying to create a binary outcome, which is if this statement, additional policy firming, remains in the speech, remains in their publication, right, that it could actually be bearish, right? And meaning they could potentially do another rate hike. If it's taken out, that means that the hikes are probably off the table. I think most of the market is pricing in the fact that there aren't going to be any more hikes for this cycle, for this monetary cycle, right? So that's somewhat interesting, right? We are absolutely going to be breaking down the decision and the speech at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we actually have Bitcoin Ben coming on the show with us, and he's going to be helping us digest that as well. All right, we've got one more story here as we wrap up, and then we'll take a little bit of a deeper dive into the charts. BROZ, go ahead and supply me with any coins that you would want me to take a look at. And RS Crypto, yes, you did miss the talk about JUP. You'll have to rewind and go check it out again. Let's go ahead and take a look here at the NASDAQ 100 futures slide, okay? Alphabet and Microsoft shares drop after results. But hold on, before you get bearish. In after-hours trading, shares of Alphabet dropped more than 5%, while Microsoft slipped 1.6% after the tech giants posted quarterly earnings. To be sure, both companies managed to beat on both top and bottom lines. Okay, so what gives? However, ad revenue for Alphabet came short of analysts' predictions. The pullback in Alphabet and Microsoft shares, despite the company's largely positive results, may be more of a short-term buy the rumor, sell the news information. Trending according to Sam Stovall, Chief Investment Strategist at CFRA Research. And whenever we hear Sam Stovall speak, we listen. Right. So ultimately here, guys, I'm bringing this to your attention because we are entering into earnings season for stocks. So that is something that is going to be, it could potentially be a trickle over kind of force. Because let's take a look here at the S&P. Got the S&P pulled up here. You can see the S&P and the NASDAQ and the Dow Jones all have been reaching and exceeding all-time highs, not just yearly highs, right? All-time highs. You know how Bitcoin has an all-time high? So does the U.S. stock market index, the S&P, and so does the NASDAQ. I've got the QQQ pulled up here, all-time highs. Now, curiously, the NASDAQ actually hasn't somehow. This one confounds me a little bit. The Dow Jones, all-time high, right? So the whole question here is this due for a pretty big pullback? And, I mean, I would make the argument that yes, you know, the NASDAQ, the Dow Jones are all due for a pullback. If earnings seasons disappoints, right? If all of the American corporations that report their earnings on net is negative, right? And the market can say, interpret that as a failure of the quarter it is measuring in terms of earnings. That could be the catalyst to bring, I've got the Dow Jones pulled up here, but it would happen to the whole stock market to bring this back, probably to come test these levels here. Right, which for the now watch this because you're gonna laugh. This would be about a 6% pullback, right? 6% pullback back to these levels of support back here, maybe even pulling back down to 7%. I laugh because that's a drop in the bucket for us here in crypto. That's a day of maybe a week of trading, right? Now that wouldn't happen that quickly. It would probably have a quick drop. Come test higher, fail to test higher. Let me draw this out. Right. It would probably have a pretty quick drop, right? And then come back, test higher, fail to test higher, and then trade sideways for a while, and then come back down, and then resume higher. right? But all throughout this period, there could be fear, right? There could be FUD being published because we've seen it in Bitcoin these last couple weeks. They publish bearish stories to try and add bearish pressure so that the price goes even further so that they can buy it up here at lower levels, right? Now, I'm not saying that that is going to happen, but they're in my opinion, this earnings season could go poorly. Now, it could go great, right? And the price could just continue to go higher, right, or sideways. But why does all this matter? You're not an American. You're watching. You're like, I don't care, T-Stream. I do not care about the American economy. First of all, you absolutely should, and here's why: it's because it can trickle over, right? All that FUD to try to push prices lower, right? You don't think that's going to have an effect on crypto prices? It absolutely will. So it's something to keep in mind. That doesn't mean that there can't be other forces as well, such as the Bitcoin halving and news around that could continue to buoy crypto prices, at least Bitcoin, as the rest of the U.S. equities and global equities market sells off, especially if this coincides. Here's the worst case scenario. If we get a bad earnings season in U.S. equities and we get a pause or, God forbid, a rate hike from the Fed, that would be a pretty risk-off combination, right? If those two things came together, which is unlikely, I would say at this point. It's unlikely. If those two things came together, that would be bearish, right? So that's something to consider, and that would ultimately more than likely bleed into those big institutions that we're all betting are going to buy Bitcoin. Probably would hold off, right? They probably would wait for this risk cycle to kind of resolve, and then maybe they would continue, kind of see where the bottom for the U.S. stock market comes in, and then go ahead and make that decision. All right, let's see what tickers were thrown out here. I don't have too much time. I'm not going to review Hex. I mean, you're just asking for thoughts on Hex. I would avoid it like the plague. GNOME, EVM for small cap. Engine looks like it's heading for 2020 for 200 SMA. All right, let's look at Injective. INJ. I think that one has been actually, I know that it's popular. I know it's been doing well over oh, goodness gracious. It's doing fantastic. But let's take a look at it here. So I'm out on the daily chart, as you can see. And yeah, so it's actually come down below that midline of the Bollinger Band. Like the rest of crypto, it was able to get up above that. It did not print an entire candle out on the daily, though. I will note. Let's go to the weekly really quick. I know you're probably like, why go out time frame? Well, it's important. Okay, so it does look very similar to Bitcoin. A test back to the midline of the Bollinger Band would put it back at $24, a 30% move, right? But I'm thinking that crypto, along with probably Injective, is going to wait for that midline to get a little higher, and then we'd see a pullback, right? Let's go down into some lower time frames here. For Injective, I might be able to look at GNOME. So give me just a second on that one as well. So overall here, Injective on the 4-hour is looking like it's going into a bearish cycle, right? It's looking like it's testing for a move lower. We've had some support here historically that's been pretty good, and it looks like it may be breaking through that, actually, as we speak. There's a bunch of lines here that I could draw that ultimately found support back here on these candlesticks, so maybe even a little bit lower. So is that going to be a super definitive line for Injective? That is kind of the question. It found support here with these candlesticks back in early January. This is probably the best. Yeah, that's a pretty good spot. So I would say that Injective, it really needs to stay above 33.7. If it gets down below that, then it could potentially push lower. Let me see what the Lux Algo indicators here are showing. It's kind of diddling in the middle, at least down on the 4-hour. It's kind of diddling in the middle here. So I would say that this is not really certain which direction this is going to go, right? Other than down. I think probably down for Injective for a little bit longer. These candlesticks here are purple, so that kind of indicates kind of uncertainty of direction, which is what I was just saying. It's a little bit uncertain which way this is going, but it's pointing down. Let's see if the MACD can show us. Oh, yeah. So you mean your most recent candlestick here for the 4-hour is continuing to accelerate with those MACD lines. So I'm thinking Injective probably bleeds a little more here. However, it's not like deviating too much with the rest of crypto, right? I think this looks pretty normal. It looks like a pretty healthy test lower. And honestly, if you're a trader, this is probably not too bad. Let me throw a trend regression on here and just see how. Yeah, so it is a downtrend in terms of trend regression. However, it is at that midline. So, a test down to the bottom of this, if my buttons would work, would give us 12% downside to $30 for injective, at least on this 4-hour regression. So I would say it looks like it wants to go test lower, could find support here at 33.7. I think you will see prices lower at the end of today for this coin, but ultimately it could find support here and find a nice little bounce higher, or get stuck here in the midline of the regression trend and keep going. There's also a multitude of other, I didn't pull up Fibonacci, I didn't pull up VPVR. There's a multitude of other indicators that could show some better support levels before we reach that 30 level. But ultimately, I do think that injective is going to see a pullback. But that doesn't, I would be buying this one. I don't have any of it, and I wish I did, and this might be a good opportunity for me to scoop up a little injective before this bull market really starts to pick up. All right, GNOME. Let's take a look at GNOME, and that is going to be the last one, so hopefully it's a good one. All right. Oh, no. GNOME EVM for small cap. Well, I don't see. There's no result for it, so I don't know what to do about that. Let's see. I see Neo. You want me to look at Neo? Oh, okay. I typed in. Okay, so there is hope here. There's hope. Neom EVM to Ether. Let's see if we can look at. Here's one to Tether. So this looks like a pretty small cap. I don't know what the market cap of this is. Let's see if I can find it quickly. Volume 130,000 volume. So that is pretty small. Very, very small. All right, so let's take a look here at the charts. I'm down on the 4-hourly, and this guy has gotten absolutely thrashed. Yeah, I mean, there's not a lot of trading data here, so there's only so much you can really pull out. But if I go, the 4-hour is probably the best time frame to look at this one on. Let's take a look here. Let's take a look. Oof. When was this? So this was January. Oh, so this just came out? Okay, so this is a very, very young coin. It's almost not even worth doing TA. So the thing with, let me see if I can find one with a little bit more neon. Why was I saying Neom? I'm still learning how to read here, guys. I'm sorry. Yeah, ultimately, I would say that this one is a little bit too young to try. I'm going to look at it on gate.io. There's a little bit more market, there's a lot more market data. Okay. Awesome. All right, a lot more market data here, and then you immediately start to see some support levels. Okay, so disregard pretty much everything I just said about that other one, about that other analysis. If I come in and I draw a line here, which isn't excellent, you still are seeing a sell-off. So it just broke below this uptrending line of support. That is bad, and that happened this last couple of. That happened very recently, this breakthrough, this break lower. So I don't know anything about this project, but it looks like it had a ton of bullishness in December, and that has sold off. That bullishness has gone away, and now we're seeing it pull back and kind of, honestly, there's not enough support here for it to even have found support. So it's probably finding support on like a Fibonacci retracement, a Fibonacci extension. Let me draw that out really quickly. Oh, man. Yeah, let's go ahead and put it here. No, it must be, yeah. Okay, so it found some support at the 0.23, right? And that's decent. That's decent. So it could hold here at $1.17 is the next line of support that I would be looking for, because look here, there's just nothing. There's nothing in this huge gap. Like if I draw a rectangle, which was one of my favorite shapes as a kid, the rectangle. Let me know in the chat, what was your favorite shape? And I'm not just filling time to ask that question by any means. But if you can draw a rectangle right here. Let me know your favorite shape as a kid in the chat. Oh man, this Jupiter airdrop better freaking come through. It better make some bullish momentum in the market. All right, taking a look here, you can see it's got some potential for support here, right? Because it did find support back here. I think in this zone, I think you might have some support at 120. Yeah, $1.24 potentially is where that support starts, and then down to 117. If it breaks lower than 117, and I'm saying that purely because of the Fibonacci extension. If it breaks lower than that, then I think you do see a test back to this kind of area of consolidation, right? And that would be lower. That would be quite a move lower. Let me see what percentage that would be from where we are right now. That would be a 50, call it 60% move lower. Down to 117, it would be about 11% lower. Okay, so that's known. Guys, you are tuned into the Investing Bros. Thank you so much for doing so. We talked about the Jupiter airdrop, and we went way over time. Actually, since we're here, let's go ahead and see how the market's opening because we want to see how, oh yeah, okay, so you can see here, overall, mega cap stocks, man, are getting thrashed red across the screen, except Microsoft, which is the only stock that I hold that isn't a Bitcoin exposed stock, like a miner or one of the spot Bitcoin ETFs. So Microsoft holding on, actually not doing too bad for the first few minutes of trading here. Google up almost 6%. So Google having, did I say up? I'm so zoomed out. Look at this gigantic gap down for Google. That looks like Tesla. That sucks for Google. I'm out. I am out of the big tech. And so this would probably translate into a much lower NASDAQ. Is that the case? Yes. So the Qs are down, also seeing a gap down below the midline of the Bollinger Band. So going into the FOMC event, really, I mean, you could kind of make the argument that it's setting up for potentially a bear trap, right? By it, I mean the U.S. equities market potentially setting up for a bear trap, right? As folks are going to sell off here, right? But then markets could bounce back if the Fed goes ahead and issues a cut, right? So folks could be seeing a big disappointment today if they get shaken out of this move. Hopefully, now I'm sure there was tons of liquidations for Google futures. Whew, man, that would have been rough. Dow Jones holding steady, up today, 0.2%. So it really is tech that's getting a thrashing on those disappointing ad revenue outcomes there for Google. Man, that is rough. Big rough ski. Dave Digital said, T, do you mind if I borrow that room for 4 to 6 hours? Sure. Let me know. Hit me up, bruh. We also had some input here on Injective. Injective is one of those strongest charts on the weekly in all of crypto, all time. Charts don't lie, said Dave Digital. Dave Digital saying that. And then everybody telling me it's neon. I was typing in neom with an M at the end. All right. That's gonna wrap it up for me, guys. I went way over time, but hey, a little extra value for the bros. Go ahead and check out Piper Academy, which is live now. And I totally stepped on their toes, but I'm sorry. I got excited. There was a lot of news today. And we'll see you at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to cover the FOMC event. What happened? What is Jerome going to say? Are they going to cut, pause, or hike? And what does Bitcoin Ben have to say about all of this? We're going to find out at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'll see you then.
Trying to make paper, turn that batter to cake. Money like Lego, connect the dots stack bank. We are investing bros. We are investing bros. Army pipe, lethal on trade. Entries and exits, worthy of praise. Tim, the professor, the TA. Shout it out loud on the PA. T-Shrooms news, got the word. Doing better than what he deserves. Beamer, leave no evidence. Soon fly coop with his dividend. Trying to make paper, turn that batter to cake. Money like Lego, connect the dots stack bank. We are investing bros. We are investing bros.